Hello, everyone. Welcome into our weekly live stream. As always, at 6 p.m. London. Today, we have a very, very interesting guest that I was talking about on the previous live stream, and we also sent some information about the guest in our chats. So most of the users were able to take a look at Alex, visit his social media and stuff. And I was really excited to have this live stream since Alex, you will be able to answer a lot of the questions of the participants that they ask me a lot about the crypto trends, about what are we expecting in Web3 space to happen in a short period of time, whether we need to invest in something now or wait. People don't know whether it's going to crash or it's going to go back up. And there's just tons of questions like this that I have a hard time answering because, I can only say what I think or I believe in, but, I'm not an expert. So, and you are. And I am very, very happy that you are here with us today. And thank you for coming, and we will I will ask you some questions, and then at the end, as we always do, we're going to have our participants to ask questions that you want, and you will answer them at the end of the live stream. So can I see Alex, please? Here you go. Hi,
Hi there.
how are you? Hi.
Great to be
Okay,
here.
Alex. Thank you so much. I wanted to first of all have you maybe tell about yourself briefly about what you do, so we can, so that whoever didn't see the post can have a better understanding, and then we'll jump to the questions.
Great, thanks for having me. I guess the best way to describe me in a sentence would be a self-taught economist. I've been studying markets intensely for the last 6 years, both stocks, commodities, Bitcoin, crypto, NFTs, etc. So I try to keep an eye on the latest trends through my website, TheLatestBlock.com. Regularly news updates, daily news updates, so that those that want to track the markets can keep up to date. And I also have a branch where I create a whole, line of educational products. So I think most of the market participants in such a new market as crypto or NFTs are actually very new because the market itself is new. So I do my best to create educational materials that anyone could use.
This is awesome. And Alex, first and the first question that I will ask you, and that I get a lot from everywhere, is what do you think about the crypto market today? Where it's going in the near future? Are we expecting another crash, or you feel like we're going back up now?
That's a great question. The first answer is nobody knows completely, right? If anyone tells you they
This
have
is what
total
I say.
certainty it's going to happen, they're lying, or they're stupid, right? Um, so we use in markets, crypto, anywhere, we use the past to help us predict the future, which is imperfect because it's not really, past performance is not a guarantee of future results. That being said, there are trends, there are numbers you can look at, and there's essentially two areas. There's called fundamental analysis, where you're looking if it's a stock or a crypto project, the value of the basic project separate from the price action. And then you have technical analysis where you're looking at the various patterns of trading of the actual charts, the actual price action. So I'm much stronger on the fundamental analysis part, but I have enough of understanding the technical analysis. And for where I don't, I listen to those who do, right? And as the saying goes, technical analysis always works until it doesn't, right? So, for example, a major world event, major event may cause a change, like a war being started, or even like the ETH 2.0 merge is going to be a massive change that has never happened before. So to predict exactly how markets will respond, there's no 100% factor. That being said, it's much easier to predict longer term trends than short term trends. However, my pick, based on the numbers I'm looking at, and I use about 6 different economic news indicators from around the world, as well as trends. I follow trends in crypto markets. I think short term, and I would say as about a day or two ago, I think we're going to go down a little bit in the near term, and in the medium term, the next 6 months, markets overall. I think you've seen what we call a relief rally. If it continues to go up, that will prove that I'm wrong, right? That it's actually the bear market's over. But the signs, enough arrows indicate that it's a short-term rally. It's going to go down in the near term. I don't know that it's going to go much lower than the bottom. But the major factor is the concept of economic tightening, quantitative tightening, as the central bank, the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the U.S. calls it. They keep raising rates. So we're a lot of us in our generation, since the year 2008, essentially, it's almost been an unstopped increasing of the money supply in the United States and the developed world, where much of the money traded in markets comes from, right? So we've seen an unprecedented era of growth in the stock market. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto market, right, accelerated faster than any market in history. Now, I'm still long-term hyper bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum and a couple other projects. That being said, it's now tightening. So in environments where the money supply is tightening, generally there's less money sitting around to invest. So there's less people involved in investing or trading, right? So less money supply, there's less money to play around. When interest rates are extremely low, there's no incentive to put it in a bank account or a bond because you get no interest, right? So now if you're getting 5-10% interest, you might just put it in your least risky asset, right? So we're seeing a bit of a shift in the winds. I think it appears that the Federal Reserve is going to continue going that direction. I think that's going to continue 6 months at the most. Then it's going to flip to what we call neutral. In other words, they're not going to change anything, kind of keep it the same. And then I think it's either going to stay neutral for some time or actually go what we say, the word is dovish, but in other words, loosen up, lower the rates again, open up the money faucet, and in which case it's usually generally very good for markets that are considered more risk, like stocks, crypto, etc. So I think that being said, so if for trading, I wouldn't be trading a bullish way right now, especially not for altcoins. I'm a long-term investor. My view is, 5 years or longer. So I'm a strong believer in dollar cost averaging, where you put, you have a surplus of your money, you have enough money to live, you have some extra dollar cost average into assets you believe in, which I believe in Bitcoin. If I had a larger surplus, I would also be investing in Ethereum and then a couple of alts. Now is a good time to accumulate because you're in a bear market. Prices, just the simplicity, the world could end tomorrow, but it's not that likely, right? Most likely, things tighten and then they loosen. Things go up and they go down and they go back up. So if you're buying, the projects that you really feel are excellent projects or have, can go up in the bull market, you're buying them at a discount right now. So if you're dollar cost averaging in, it's not going to hurt as much if it goes down another 20% and we're wrong, right? But if you're putting in every month into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple of altcoins that you really think are going to explode in the next bull market, most likely there will be a bull market and they will explode. So would you rather buy your Ethereum? It was at $1,000, right? Or even now 1,900, right? Would you rather buy it at 1,900 or at 4,000, 6,000, or 8,000, right? Or even 2,500 if it doesn't go
Right.
back up that much? Yeah.
No, that's I definitely agree on what you're saying about the opportunities that we get in the bear market. That basically if the project has lived for a certain period of time and it is now at its minimum cost, it wouldn't make sense not to accumulate certain coins. And actually talking about that, most of the users that, let's say, we have at grand time are newcomers in web3 and blockchain and stuff. And a lot of the people, I would say the majority of the people, didn't know anything about crypto before joining the project. And some users, I still see that some users are still being a little skeptical about crypto in general. And let's say if you have a certain amount of money that you're ready to invest somewhere, some people would prefer to invest in stocks rather than crypto, and because they think that crypto is risky, and especially with what happened, earlier this year, some people that were thinking it's risky now kind of proved it to themselves. And what would you say about that? What's your opinion on I would say in potential investors like that are just afraid to invest in this market?
Great question. I think it goes back to investor strategy. I recently talked about kind of there's a guy who wrote a book about the stock market, Nick Murray, Inevitable Wealth, and he talks about the investor mindset is more important than which asset you're investing in, right? Crypto might be up, Bitcoin might be up 200,000% in the last 9 years, but how many people bought Bitcoin 9 years ago that held it for 9 years? Not many, right? So I was lucky enough to make enough mistakes earlier on that I made enough bad trades in 2017 when I first got in that I realized I'm just not going to touch this. You know, so it goes back to investor mindset. There's four things you can be doing. Let's talk about it, right? Whether we're in crypto, let's talk about crypto. Right? So you could be investing, you could be trading, you could be gambling, or you could be shopping, right? And although it's kind of a little funny, but let's call a spade a spade. If you're new, you should not be trading. Trading is a profession. Trading is a technical thing. When I first got in, I make a couple good trades. I gain 50% in a day. I all of a sudden think I'm the world's greatest investor. I figured out something no one in the universe has figured out before. And then the bear market comes, right? And I buy Dogecoin at 70 cents at the top, and then it goes down to 8 cents, right? So I didn't actually do that, but I did buy some dip on Dogecoin. I made a good trading amount, and then I made the mistake of buying it at like 40 cents, thing that was going back up. And I didn't time the market, which is almost impossible to time the market. The world's best professional traders know that you can't really time the market, but I took a step ahead. I was gambling. Let's be honest, right? So you can tend to get in a hysteria where you're so excited that you're just unstoppable, and you get into a bit of gambling, or you had a bad trade and you get angry and you want to make it all back, right? So those are very dangerous states when you're really gambling. So if you find yourself looking at charts 24/7, waking up in the middle of the night to look at the price of your crypto, you're probably not investing. Investing is about putting things in there for the long term, uh, and helping you sleep more at night, right? If you sleep less, you're probably doing something wrong. Um, Shopping, I mean, we could all say we got our pet projects. My favorite CEO, I love this, I love that, I love their logo, I love their name, and I'm diversifying, so I'm buying 37 different cryptocurrencies. That's not diversifying, right? In fact, buying any other cryptocurrencies, you know, beyond four or five things, there's not really any such thing as diversification. And in the crypto market, it's so new that everything falls together usually. So it wouldn't have that as a strategy. But back to investing, if you've done your research, you think something is solid. Basic investing is 5 years or longer. If you need that money next month, next year, um, it's not really investing. There is trading you can learn and you can do it right. And there's swing trading, which, in bull markets generally does well, right? But back to the thing, like there is risk, right? Over the long term, there's volatility. Newer assets grow more. They also drop more, like Bitcoin, which, is the least volatile of all the cryptocurrencies, has had, I think, nine drops of greater than 50% in its lifetime, right? So even 70%, this year. So look, the higher it goes, the lower it can go down. So volatility is real, but if you're looking at it in the longer term and it's a project, in crypto, there's going to be over 90% of the projects are going to go to zero and they're going to just fail. If, or at least close enough to zero, like Luna, right? Terra Luna is
Hmm.
negligibly, Luna Classic is essentially zero, right? So, but the thing is, to get the gain, you have to take the risk. Investing is exposing yourself to risk for greater gain. So if you're younger, if you're under the age of 40, if you're working, you're trying to build wealth, you're going to have to expose yourself to some risk, right? Just putting your money in the bank, you're trading long-term risk for short-term risk, right? Because when you're older, when you're retired, if you put your money in cash in fiat currency, it goes down. Even if inflation was 3% every 20, 25 years, it cuts in half, right? At this rate, it's going to cut in half in about a dozen years. So you're actually putting yourself at risk in the long term. You're putting your future self at risk by not taking risk right now. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, even if you're active and you're in, you're a healthy person in your early 40s, it's worth exposing yourself to at least a portion of your savings into investing in riskier assets. As it, so personally, I recommend people put 5% into Bitcoin. I put way, 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 way more than that, and also in Ethereum. Kind of playing NFTs and crypto, but you know any reasonable person who even wants to avoid risk needs to consider the fact that they should have 5-10% of their assets in alternative investments that have the potential of growing. Like if Bitcoin goes to zero and you have 5% of your portfolio in that, you're not going to feel it that much. If your favorite crypto, it could go to zero. It could also go 10, 20, 50, 100x in the next bull cycle, as about a dozen major cryptocurrencies did in 2020, 2021. So if you're putting 5% of your portfolio in that and you have a chance to 100x, I mean, it's almost a no-brainer. You lose 5% or you gain, that 100x will literally be double your entire portfolio, or sorry, 5 times your entire portfolio.
Well, it definitely does make sense. One of the questions that I also wanted to ask about, it's also about investments and trading, if we call it that way. When you said, the top, obviously the top cryptos that everybody knows now, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, are less risky to invest in. Only if we just take the amount of time they've been on market and what they have already shown and stuff. And there are thousands of different altcoins. So when it comes to less popular currencies, what are the major I would say aspects that you would look at before deciding whether you want to purchase certain coin or not? That you look at. We understand that there is risk to it, no matter what. But what are the things that you definitely will look at before making a decision to take that risk?
Great question. So first of all, if I was a beginner, I would make sure I've been holding Bitcoin or Ethereum for 6 months, and like what happens when it drops, right? Do you lose sleep? You get queasy in your stomach. Like if you can't handle emotionally, that's a thing to consider, right? Like I could sit there and bully you and say, oh, be strong, but hodl. But the fact is, you got to do what works for you, right? So if risk causes you an extreme amount of emotional upset, consider taking a smaller percentage, and consider you might be over leveraged. Okay, second of all, looking at specific projects, I think there's a couple key things in the fundamentals. One is, does this token actually solve a real world problem? Does the project solve an actual problem? Second question, does someone else already solve this problem in a sort of meaningful way? Like, are you building a competitor to Ethereum? If so, your odds of success are extremely low, right? Is there already kind of a dominant market leader that's taken a and we're in crypto, so there's still projects that can disrupt an existing market leader, because most of the markets are extremely small, right? But is the coin trying to replace Bitcoin? If so, the odds are extremely low that it's going to have any success. It would not be worth your time and money to invest into. So now there are other sectors of the market. If there's either no market leader established or it's still extremely new, I think that's something that could be a real winner. Is either a project that you want to stick around with, or if you're looking at really speculating, you want a 100x coin. I would look into those things, like sectors of the market that are real world problems. That this is a real world solution that don't have kind of a leader, right? Or an established leader. Like you could say IoT, Internet of Things, there's IoTex, there's IOTA, but it doesn't really have an established market leader. They're all in kind of still research and development phase. So very much, IoT could, and they're a former client. I don't hold any IoT, but I've written for them. But they could be the market leader. They might not be, right? They're still in research development phase, right? So again, is there a real world problem? Is there a market leader, or what are the market leaders? Maybe there's a market leader that's disgraced, like Celsius, right? Like, so maybe now's the time to step in with savings and lending program that has like on-chain blockchain reports in real time, and or something like that. Now there already are competitors, but and that has some regulatory issues in the U.S. right now. So there's challenges. But I'm just giving, for example, Celsius is no longer the established market leader, right? They're in distress. They're a mess. So you could have that situation where it's still possible for disruption. There's still more risk if there's a market leader, or there's no market for it. Then again, you could be early, but you could also be too early, right? Like I could develop an app to bring your Beanie Babies onto the blockchain and tokenize it, but is there ever going to be a market for it? May not be. Last thing I would say is, does that product really need a token, right? And what is the use case of the token as opposed to the project? Like I could say, I'm going to build a website for writing. I'm a writer, so a website for writers and readers. We're going to decentralize, like Medium. We're going to compete with Medium, and I'm going to make the Alex token, right? So what is the use case of the Alex token? Why don't I just use Bitcoin or Ethereum or some other token, right? And ask myself that question, and you as the investor could ask that question. Now, crypto is crazy, right? Markets are not the same as the economy. You could have something that is pure fluff, has no use case. In the bull market, it could go up 100x, right? So those, you can never be perfect. You can only try, and I would recommend. Yeah, that's all.
No, no thank you, thank you for the answer. While you were talking about that, I also had a question in mind about like newer projects. If there's a project with a token that's not being listed on the exchanges yet. Okay, it's on the development. It's in development process, and let's say there is you as a person that just found this project online, let's say, and you're getting into it, and you like what you see, you understand the value that this project might bring to the market in general, and in the world, but you don't know anything about it. You don't hear about it on social media, or you can't buy it on the exchange, but you definitely see where it's going and what the potentials are. Would you get in projects like this, let's say on pre-sale stages, and if you what would the percentage of your total portfolio go to, or if not, if you wouldn't, you would, like, let's say if you would wait until it gets listed, it goes through the first stages of going up and down, when the new token is getting listed on the exchange. Like, what are your strategies on that? Just your opinion about like the very new projects.
Great. Well, I would consider this speculation, right? So I would put any money that you put in that is the same money you would take to the casino, right? You could have most likely all of it will go to zero, and that's actually like your greater than 50% chance. I've invested in ICOs, invested in different things before. They reached a fungible market, a place where you can actually sell it, right? And so most likely you're going to zero. But product that, of course, can go 1,000x, 10,000x. You could really crush it, right? So it's worth it if you have $100 that you want to get rid of. Pick one that looks good, put it in. That being said, there's two other factors, right? There's timing. We're still in a not too hot market, a bear market. Things have tightened. So those projects, their odds of succeeding are far, far, far less. A year ago, many of those were popping off, having 5,000% days, get listed on Coin Market Cap, triple, etc. Right? So in a bull market, those are much more likely to have success. So I would rather do that if I was doing that in a bull market than a bear market. The other thing is that you mentioned no social media information. I use one of the things I use to research, which I didn't mention in my earlier question, was I use Lunar Crush. Not sponsored. I use Lunar Crush like literally religiously, and they show you social media metrics, and they also take out the spam. Like if there's somebody who paid an influencer to tweet 5 times, it doesn't show up on there. If they've got spam bots, they clean it out. So they spent years perfecting their algorithm. So you could see, is there an actual community that's building on Twitter and Discord and so on. So I would use them. And that being said, I would still recommend getting in on something, like check what other projects they've produced. The team. There's some, most I think are going to be scams or pump and dumps. There's going to be incubators that are legit. I think there's some in the gaming metaverse area that have a good chance of having some legit things. Again, it is speculation. This isn't where you put your lunch money or your rent money or your even kind of investment. This is your percentage of your crypto investment that you put into speculation. That your goal is to, I would say the more realistic goal would be get something pumped, sell it, and get out. Right? Maybe keep a little bit of it, but you're similar to how a venture capitalist or an angel investor invests in companies. They're expecting, they invest in 20 companies. They're expecting 19 to fail. That one of them is going to make them profitable, right? So that's kind of the attitude. So it's a bit hit or miss, but that's a great time that, if it does pump, I mean, that's your greatest risk, but also your greatest reward. If one of those does pump, it's very easy to get 100x out of that. If it does,
Right.
not very easy, but very likely, right? If it does pump. Especially check, like, do they have exact plans to get in an exchange? These things are harder. If they get on Binance or Coinbase, um, the moment that news breaks, not after they get on it, they always dump at that point, but the moment there's that news. Also check other things. You can check, like, were there earlier investment rounds? When do those unlock? So if you're like, oh, I'm going to get in on this, and next week all the first tier investors that have already made 50x, their coins unlocked, they're going to
Right.
dump, right? So I would keep those tips on that. And again, unless you're comfortable with the whole like going to zero thing, and I've been doing it for 6 months, I wouldn't touch those if you're a newer investor.
Thank you very much for this answer, Alex. I think if you're ready, we're going to answer a couple of questions of our users as well.
Sure.
The first question that I see, first of all, there's a couple that you already answered, so I'm not going to announce them. But the first one that I see that you kind of covered is from Oksana. It says, Alex, what investment portfolio can you recommend as a long-term investment to hold? And you already mentioned that you would invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum for a long term for sure. But would you be comfortable sharing what else you feel like has a good future?
Sure. So first off, I'm an educator, not a financial advisor. So invest at your own risk. But if you're looking for more certain things, more definite things, Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? If you're looking for more kind of room for growth, my kind of percentage allocated to the more kind of speculative but really bright-looking projects would be like, let's say, some field that is growing and doesn't have an established market leader. For example, metaverse and gaming, right? So I'm bullish on Gala, Sandbox as metaverse projects that are building in this bear market, as well as some other games, right? So those two I'm bullish on. I'm also bullish on crypto companies, their tokens. Like, these exchanges make money. Again, there's risk. Will regulators stomp them out? There's risk. They're more risky than Bitcoin and Ethereum. But you look at Binance Coin, even KuCoin. I'm bullish on. I'd pick a few winners from with your smaller amount that you want to speculate in. I'd pick up some of those. Feel the same way about some DeFi protocols. I mean, they're really having a rough year. They're getting hammered, but personally, I have a little bit of cake, pancake swap, and I think there are probably some on Ethereum that will get through this, you know, really tough time, right? If they do, I think those will be massive winners in the next bull market. So, yeah, pick some. Again, pick a field that you think. I picked, metaverse gaming, DeFi, and exchanges. You may feel that another one is very much growing, but yeah, those are some of the ones I picked.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Another question was from another participant, and it's related to Grand Time. Actually, it's just basically asking the opinion of your opinion on the project. By you mentioned that if you see that this particular project brings value on to overall market or in the world, it's potentially got a better future. I can't see you for some reason right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. I can see. So let's say in a couple of words, just to help this question, I will describe the not the use case, but what we're planning to do right now and where we're going. So we call ourselves a crowdsourcing marketplace, right? And the users are that on platform that we have are mostly from emerging markets and. Let's say the businesses that are ordering tasks in order for users to perform them are from developed countries like US and some European countries as well. And so we kind of want to combine the emerging market workforce with the business needs. In order, let's say if you take AI industry, there's a big trouble in finding workforce for labeling data for self-driving cars, or there's a lot of use cases on that. And there are a lot of people on the other side of the world that are looking for work and want to earn extra by doing simple things. And Web3 gave us an opportunity to make this happen, because if you take any other crowdsourcing marketplace today in Web2, let's say if you take a US crowdsourcing marketplace, most likely that only US citizens or people with work authorizations and stuff are able to work for that particular crowdsourcing marketplace, because they're getting paid in dollars. Crypto, you can be anywhere in the world and get paid instantly and securely, for doing the same. So it kind of like opens up the market. What is your opinion on this, on what we're doing and where we're going now?
Great question. Well, first of all, as an analyst, I want to say I haven't done a full deep dive. My apologies, but my opinion is not yet a qualified opinion. I would say I do want to say if it has anything to do with how Anna acts and how you act. I'm bullish on you too. So you've been wonderful. So and I do want to say that yeah, bullish on Anna, right? That's good. Um, Look, massive market there in the what we call the emerging world. And you have not so emerging, but obviously Eastern Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America. You have massive growth, like population growth, unreal compared to what we see in North America and Europe. So, really, any tech market has potential of massive growth. You also have the concept that you have like a developer in Kenya might do some work and get paid with PayPal, and PayPal just randomly shuts his account for a year. So, cryptocurrency is a superior payment method for those doing contract work, especially tech work, right, or designing a website or something. So for their human rights, the right of transaction, which is really a human right because it kind of underlies all other, you know, internet world, whether we're talking Web 2, Web 3, the right to transact is, if you take that away, you could take out essentially freedom of speech and so on, right? So um, I think anyone building that space that's building a valuable product that can bring 10x better product than exists on the market. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are 10x better than PayPal because you don't get shut down. I mean, almost any cryptocurrency that can keep their security in it and doesn't get hacked or shut down or go to zero. I mean, in those cases, even if they do go to zero, you're looking at a short-term payment, right? It's a method of payment, a means of transacting. So that person's going to cash out their crypto and they're going to feed their family for the week, right? So um,
Right.
if you provide that service, um, you know, you, you have a chance of being a big winner. Um, and again, just hammering that point, look at what happened with individuals in Russia and Ukraine after the war started. No, it's a hot topic, but look, both of them essentially got cut off from much of the traditional financial system. So I have friends on both sides. They're NFT artists. They're selling their art for Ethereum. They're living because they have Ethereum. And in Africa, these markets, these people just got cut off for no reason. Um, so they need a Web3 solution. So again, I will be researching your product, but I'm bullish on Web3 solutions in that area, and and bridging the gap between those worlds, because I think a lot of these places are going to see massive growth over the next decade, from Nigeria to Vietnam, etc. Right?
I can already see that, and I'm. By the way, I was really, really surprised. When I realized how many people are looking for, getting into Web3 and blockchain from, let's say African countries. We have a lot of users from Nigeria and Ghana, and other parts of Africa, and we're doing a lot of events there, and people that basically don't know anything about crypto, they don't hold any crypto, uh, they just heard something on their radio or TV or on the internet, but they don't know anything. And let's say we're starting an event in a city, and we're doing a little marketing on the radio by saying that we're going to have an event and we're going to talk about a new Web3 project. Please come and listen if you want to learn some more. And all of a sudden, we're having hundreds of people coming by just hearing this on the radio, let's say. And I just see the interest of the population in this space, and I think it's a must to take it as an opportunity and help both sides. You can be helpful to the community itself, and you can be helpful to the market by bringing new users into the space. So yes, absolutely agree with you on that. And Alex,
Yeah.
I wanted
I'll add,
to. Mhm. Go
Sorry, I just want
ahead.
to add one other thing. Like any business, whether it's Web3 or not, you have sales, marketing, promotion, and then you have delivery, right? You have a product, a service that people want, or you don't, right? So um, I think if you look at the failures in the past of crypto and Web3, they generally faltered on the second side. So just making sure you have both sides, and really working on that. There are also great products that don't get delivered in a great way, that fail, right? Or there isn't any. I've seen good products out there that also don't have proper marketing, and they're just, oh well, I don't do marketing because of all the scams. But you do have to do some, or you won't reach the world. So I think balancing both is your key to success in business.
Exactly, and I'm a strong believer in positive effects of collaborations of any kind, whether you're collaborating with just like you and me today, or with any other business, and sharing the community, and basically letting the community see something else, and is the best thing, because I feel like if everybody is going to be focused on themselves only, promoting only themselves, talking only about themselves, and not seeing anything around, is not a good thing. And I'm a strong believer that that especially in the new market, like what Web3, even though it's not new, but if you compare it to regular market, it is newer. So especially when it's on early stages of development, it's very important to stay together and to have bring more people into this Web3 community in general. So yeah, but I definitely agree on what you said. Alex, I wanted to ask you one last question before we finish up today, and it's actually one of the questions that we had in the list of questions that I wanted to ask you, is about the climate change effect. How do you think crypto affects the climate change overall?
Great question. Um, there's two ways to look at this. The first, but I want to actually take a step back. When you look at anything in the world, there's going to be the good and the bad, right? Nothing is totally good or totally bad. Um, you know, uh, there's both sides. So the computer itself, you could say, has done awful things to the environment, but is it worth it? The question is, Well, the first question is, does it create more value than it destroys, right? So, for example, if you're, a ton of energy use is being spent on a porno site, I would say that's not good for the environment, right? The same amount of energy could be used to maintain a cryptocurrency network, proof of work network, to that lets refugees survive and eat a meal where they would die otherwise, right? So I would find that the same level of waste from both of those projects, I'd say one is worth it and one is not, right? In anything, you need to look at its value versus its cost, right? Um, so again, that's a choice everyone needs to make personally, but that's the first point I want to make. Too often, a certain political agenda for or against the issue takes an extreme view on the subject and just takes it home like, okay, carbon neutral is great, but the most carbon neutral business is the one that fails, right? It doesn't even exist. So it's kind of like it's a factor. It's not the only factor, right? Also, it's kind of tended to be a bit of more posturing than actual real worth, right? Where you have the largest, most profitable businesses in the world have enough money to spend time speaking about those issues, right? Or making a donation to something, whereas they are only in that position because they have that budget, right? A business that is barely surviving has no time to talk about, social causes because they're fighting on survival. So is the corporation making $100 billion in profit truly more beneficial than the restaurant owner who's working 7 days a week, or is it simply a public relations expense that is also a tax deduction, right? So I'd say that there's companies on both sides of the equation on that. There's good and there's bad and there's ugly. So I think that's something that to figure. There's also another thing. Let's compare the actual energy use against other energy uses, right? Um, Bitcoin, for example, okay, it uses a lot of energy. Yes, it does. It uses less than the banking system. The purpose of Bitcoin is to have an independent banking system that can't be manipulated by governments, and there's freedom that can be achieved from that. So one has to decide: is it worth that waste for the freedom, right? You can also look and say, okay, well, crypto's, wastes the environment, NFTs are wasteful, but if you were to compare it against the amount of energy spent on email service from our unanswered inboxes of every person on the planet, that's far, far, far greater than every single, NFT ever minted, right? So you could say, well, I don't want to deal in NFTs because they're bad for the environment. Okay, well, do you watch TV? Do you have a computer? Do you send text messages on a cell phone? Well, that's no different. Uh, Again, there's also the conflation of proof of work uses a lot of energy, proof of stake does not. There are blockchains. If that is a major consideration, consider. Well, Ethereum is going to proof of stake. There's other blockchains that have that as a feature, right? They're proof of stake. They use a lot less energy. So most of the NFT ones are actually proof of stake, other than Ethereum, which Polygon is proof of stake, right? Connected to Ethereum, they're moving to proof of stake. So if that truly is a consideration, then the person should do what's best for them. Consider a proof of stake blockchain, which is not any more destructive to the environment than a website or a cell phone, right? So um, that's my take on it. Again, if you're building a video game, or if you're creating a form of freedom money that can help hundreds of millions of people escaping from oppression, one should be allowed to use more energy than the other.
Right, and it's always, whether you talk about crypto or anything else, like you had an example with watching TV. It's always what you compare it with and what is the potential result that this particular project or service will provide overall in the world. And I definitely agree, because I'm 1,000% sure that's when the first car was invented, or when the TV was invented, or when the computer was invented. A lot of people were talking about how bad it is and how bad it will affect our environment. But look at us now. 15, 20 years later, the whole world is changing because of this new innovations, and it's actually bringing some positive results in overall economy growth and development of many countries. So yes,
I
absolutely. There's never. Mhm.
I'm a strong
Go
believer,
ahead.
excuse me, innovation is the solution. It's not the problem. The internet, yeah, it's used tons of energy, but all these, the fact that people invest in green stocks, you know, companies that are technology companies that are investing in greener energy, they wouldn't be successful if it weren't for the internet. So I think innovation, there's always a way to make it better, more efficient, uh, but not by crushing everything the moment it rears its head that's brand new. It's in its infantile stages. Oh, it makes no sense to criticize something that's been around for so little and is working on innovating and changing.
Right, 100%. Alex, I think we're going to be wrapping up our live today. I want to thank you for joining us today, for answering all the questions, and I really like your answers, the way you explain things in a very, simple way, and that everybody can understand. And I would say that I agree with, all of your answers, and our opinions kind of match on most of the things. And I'm sure that it's not going to be the last live stream we have together. And for everybody that didn't have a chance to watch today, or didn't have a chance to watch the live stream completely, we're going to post our YouTube video in the chats, and you will be able to take a look at it a little later in the day or the next day. So thank you all for listening to us today, for asking questions, and again, thank you, Alex, for joining. And we'll probably be in touch in a short period of time and schedule another one, because I see the amounts of comments in our chats and how many questions people are asking. That's very interesting topics that we're discussing today. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'd love to. My pleasure.
Bye bye.